When creating progress reports in PowerSchool, to get started, we're going to go to our dashboard and select PowerSchool. Once this loads in, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we select Power Teacher Pro, which can be found underneath each class or in the top left-hand corner. Once in Power Teacher Pro, we need to access the grading section. So for this video, we're going to go over to grading on the left-hand side, and we're going to move down to standards. Once we select standards, we're going to be adding a proficiency score to each standard for each student. In this particular view, we can see all of our standards here at the top, and we can select each one to add a proficiency score. On the left-hand side, we have all of our students listed. So this makes it easy to start with each particular standard and add a grade. So what I might want to do is to add specific grades that I need. For example, if most of my students are proficient or getting a 3, and I need to add a couple 2s, once I've added those 2s, I can select 3 and then fill on the right-hand side. This fills out all the empty spaces with whatever grade I have listed for that last space selected. When I'm done, I want to make sure that I select Save, and then I can move on to the next standard. To get a closer look at each specific standard, make sure that you hover over the top section here, and it will show you the entire standard. Now let's take a look at math. I'm going to discard these changes because this isn't my actual classroom. Here under Math, I have 2 sections of headers. The first one is the report card grade. So this is the overall category grade right here, in this case, numbers and operations. The thicker line actually has 2 different markers on it, and that shows me every skill that is listed under that original heading right here. So when I select the overall grade, I get the 1 through 4 scoring right here. And as I move on to each specific standard, I can see that I have progressing, mastered, or non-applicable. And I want to make sure that I am not going to fill in anything here under the main grading category that would go into the report card. Instead, I'm going to fill in for each specific score. And again, I might just mark the students that are progressing towards their goal if most of my students have mastered, and then I'll fill the rest in later. If I have a category that I haven't yet gotten to in the marking period, I want to make sure that I mark it as NA. And that's very easy to do. I find the category, I mark the first column as NA, and then I can use the fill option here to fill in the rest of the grades. We want to make sure that it is NA because in this portion of the marking period, we haven't yet assessed that. What's really important is if we have an entire grading category, such as this one for example, and I am not going to touch on this at all in this marking period, I want to leave it blank. When I leave it blank, it's not going to pull over in the progress report. So now I fill in those few grades that I need that are for students that are still progressing, and then I can go ahead and select Mastered and Fill, or Meeting Expectations, and that will fill in the rest of my grades. So now you can see that any of the progressing are still here, listed next to the student, and all of my meeting expectations have filled in. Now I save, and I'm good to go.